she wore a yellow ribbon. Around her head, she wore a yellow ribbon. She wore it in the springtime in the early month of May. She wore it in the springtime in the early month of May. And if you ask her why that she wore it, and if you ask her why that she wore it for that soldier who was far, far away. She wore it for that soldier who was far, far away. Far away, far away, far away, far away. She wore it for that soldier who was far, far away. Hey. Around the block, she pushed a baby carrot. Around the block, she pushed a baby carrot. She pushed it in the springtime in the early month of May. She pushed it in the springtime in the early month of May. And if you ask her why that she pushed it, and if you ask her why that she pushed it for that soldier who was far, far away. She pushed it for that soldier who was far, far away. Far away, far away, far away, far away. She pushed it for that soldier who was far, far away. And behind the door, her daddy kept a shotgun. Behind the door, her daddy kept a shotgun. He kept it in the springtime in the early month of May. He kept it in the springtime in the early month of May. And if you asked him why that he kept it, and if you asked him why that he kept it for that soldier, the one who got away. He kept it for that soldier, the one who got away. Far away, far away, far away, far away. He kept it for that soldier who was far, far away. Hey!
All right. There's Yellow Ribbon.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to, hold on a minute. I usually try to make sure that you're able to see, and how I do that is by playing this simultaneously. There we go. So, welcome to a dual show today. We have today we have the weekly brunch, and we have our Memorial Day weekend special, as well as we have our veteran care wellness, which is Buddy Check, which I missed Thursday, and I do apologize. Thursday and Friday, because I try to reschedule it. I'll explain that in a minute. Today's date is 5/23/2025, and since this is in conjunction with Buddy Check, I want to start with how I usually start Buddy Check, with the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Welcome to, I think this is a special edition of Weekly Brunch. Now, for the Weekly Brunch, we're going to focus on Memorial Day weekend and what Memorial Day really is. The true meaning, not the first day of summer or the first day of barbecue, the first beach day, which now in New York it started to look like it was going to be a good beach day, but we took a dip in the last week with the temperature. So that actually is not true here in New York so much so. The weather's been kind of funky. And for veteran wellness, we're going to talk about dealing with depression, which goes hand in hand with this holiday, if you understand the true meaning. Now, growing up as a child, first generation immigrant, I was taught by my American counterparts that this was a holiday for barbecuing, and it's an extra day off, and for some it's 2 days off. Some of us have a 3-day weekend. and some of us have a 4-day weekend. So this is a time you go out, you have fun. But let's bring it back to what this holiday really means. My father did not raise us to have barbecues during this weekend. Now, let me elaborate a little bit. My father is a person who he's the first he immigrated here from Haiti. I've always shared this from day one on either one of the podcasts I host that you watch. I will always bring this back. I'm first generation American. I was born and raised here by parents who immigrated here and are my dad. He died a naturalized citizen. He was naturalized since I was 10 years old, and so was my mother. And my father always said he did not agree with the barbecue part of it and the celebration part and the glutton part of drinking and everything else. He said this was a solemn. My father taught me this before I joined the service. This is a solemn holiday. This is not a day for veterans. We have our day in November, I think 11th. I have to double check the day. Trust me, when the day comes, I know because I hear thank you for your service a lot. But he said this is a day for those who sacrifice themselves for our country. Now, when I was growing up, it was specifically for soldiers. But Memorial Day, due to the environment of the world, has changed to a day to remember those who sacrifice. This is due to 9/11. Now, most people will say, what about Pearl Harbor? Pearl Harbor, the majority of those who lost their lives, and please remember, December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day. That's the number Memorial Day, and I'm hoping to remember, because sometimes it slipped my mind, to remember to memorialize those on that day. But it is a day that mostly the majority of those who lost their lives were soldiers and mostly sailors, not soldiers, sailors lost their lives on that day. Sailors and Marines, those who were stationed on the boats that were ambushed that morning. But due to 9/11, we have to remember those who were not in armed services as well, who sacrificed their lives selflessly to go into buildings that were burning and fell upon them. Okay? That being said, let's take a moment. This is Sunday. So this is a day of prayer as well for most. A holy day for most. Yesterday was a holy day for others, depending on your religious perspective. And let's either light a candle for those who like candles, or say a prayer, or acknowledge those who have died in sacrifice for the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and for the sovereignty of this country. I no longer live near there, but in New York, we have a veteran cemetery, which is close to Pine Lawn out in Long Island. And most veteran cemeteries, and please tip your hat to the volunteers that went through and put a cross on every grave and a flag on every grave that is there for those soldiers. That being said, let's take a look. Oh, first, before, disclaimer. This show, or any of my shows, are based on my personal opinion. I I try to back it with professional notations when I find it, but everything is my opinion. Also, I want to apologize for those who are here for veteran check that I missed the 22nd. I was actually getting ready to come on, and then I fell ill. If you follow my podcast, you guys know I'm dealing with either perimenopause or extreme back pain. So that day, I actually had effects from perimenopause that caused me not to go online because I needed to take my medication. And we know what happened last time I took my medication. And then on the 23rd, I tried to schedule it. And I actually had a appointment with my back doctor. And by the time I was done, I was in so much pain that I completely forgot till after an hour that I was supposed to go online. And I do apologize for that. And I had to take care of me. And this is why we're doing this as a dual broadcast. So, that being said, let's take a look on Memorial Day. I put a couple of things. I did a Google search, and this is what you're going to look at. You're going to see my Google search. Memorial Day is one day. So today is not Memorial Day, it is Memorial Day weekend, which a lot of people are trying to barbecue today so they could party it up, get drunk, and have a recoup day tomorrow. But while you're partying up, cracking up that beer, cracking up the vodka, the rum, burning up the grill, going to the beach, doing all the wonderful things that we as Americans have the privilege and the honor of doing, take a moment. And it's highlighted here to remember and honor the men and women who died while serving the U.S. military and our emergency services. I have to add that part. I have to add that part because 9/11, the Oakland bombing, we've had a lot of terrorist attacks occur in my tenure in this life that these people need to be remembered. And this is the holiday. This is the time to remember them. This is a holiday of remembrance, not a holiday of celebration. Now, I have to admit, because this is usually my mindset when it comes to quote unquote celebration. If you're going to celebrate it, celebrate their life. Celebrate what elements in their life was the cause for their heroism and their dedication to the country, people that caused them not to be with us today. Now, it says in this detail, the significance of this holiday is to honor the fallen. It originally started during the Civil War. So this is a old holiday to honor those who fell, no matter what side of the Civil War they were, because either which way, both sides of the Civil War were Americans. This is to honor them for their sacrifice and their belief in what they believed, no matter which side they were, that this country stood on. And they deserve the honor. And they deserve to be remembered because there are many, matter of fact, every benefit we get to experience today is due to their sacrifice and their belief. This is a day Memorial Day tomorrow will be a day of remembrance. So if you're barbecuing today and you're getting all lit up, you still have one more day to go out and honor those. Some honor by dropping liquor on the ground. This is for the fallen. Some have some go and actually visit cemeteries, or they do care on those cemeteries. It's funny. I was speaking to my mother earlier today. Was it today? No, last night. It was late last night. And she told me that she went to my grandmother's grave, which she doesn't live too far from. Fortunately, my grandmother's last wish was not fulfilled of being buried back in her home country. But due to the fact that she was buried here, my mother and my brothers had a chance to go and clean off her grave and make it look beautiful. It is a day of remembrance. I mean, granted, until me or one of my cousins pass on, it won't be, and I hope it will not. I hope that my mother will not outlive me, because I don't want to bring her sadness upon it. But that won't apply to my family since I am the first one to serve in this country, and I have cousins who followed behind me. I am so proud of you guys. I am so honored that you guys are serving the country. Until we go, our family won't have a reason to go to the cemetery to clean our graves. But that shouldn't stop you if you don't have family members. There are volunteers. You could check with the nearest keeper of the veteran or the veteran association, the veteran hospitals, and so forth, on how you could care for veterans who either didn't have family or their family are no longer around or nearby, to tend to their graves as a form of honoring them. Before I continue, and I'm going to bring this down. Before I continue, in the beginning of this, I did something unusual, and I played a cadence. Now, those who see this video, who serve, knows that cadence very well. We all know that. Either we sang it in basic training, and on occasion we sang it while we were at a duty station, while we were doing that 6-mile run, or marching to wherever we need to go. Now, I did a little research when I was in the service on that cadence, because I didn't grow up knowing that cadence or that sentiment. The yellow ribbon was a sentiment. The yellow ribbon is to honor those who are serving abroad, whether they are in a wartime situation or whether they are in a peacetime situation. Because we all know, those who serve knows, that peacetime could easily turn into a hostile situation within moments. So the yellow ribbon was tied upon the hair of the loved ones of those who were abroad serving, in whichever capacity they were serving. The yellow ribbon was also tied around trees. I forgot what conflict it was. I already did my service, and I was back home. I can't recall if I was still married or not, or separated, but I remember walking around the neighborhood. I think I was in Long Island. I lived in Long Island, and I think it was out in Suffolk. And as I walked around the neighborhood and drove around the neighborhood, because then I still drove, I saw yellow ribbons around the trees. This is an old, I think, World War II. They did this as like a sign of, we remember the soldiers that are serving, and we hope they come home safe, one piece, and alive. I played that cadence because, one, for us who served, and when we sang that cadence in our hearts, and correct me if I'm wrong for those who come upon this, in our hearts, we totally hoped that someone was wearing a yellow ribbon for us. Someone was hoping, even if they didn't tie that yellow ribbon around their hair or wore the yellow tie or yellow bow tie or tied it around the tree, that there was someone back home waiting for us to come home, no matter the situation. Now, that cadence is bittersweet during this holiday because that cadence brings to light for us that there are many who didn't get that wish. There were many that did not come home. There are many that have not come home yet. Yes, we know they have passed on. Yes, we know that they died on the battlefield, but their remains never came home. So there is another symbol. Let me see if I could Google the image for you so you know. There's another symbol that many have. There we go. That this symbol here, this is a dedicated flag for those who have not come home yet. We have the tomb of the tomb of the forgotten soldier in DC, which actually I'm hoping to see a wreath placed upon it. It's traditional. Actually, that'll be tomorrow. It's traditional for our president to lay the wreath there. Now, the tomb of the unforgotten soldier is in Arlington Cemetery, if I am correct. And this tomb is guarded 24 hours a day by the Marines Honor Guard. And they conduct their vigilance of this in silence with true discipline and dedication. So if you happen to go into the DC area this Memorial Day weekend during your partying, this is another way you could pay homage to those who have passed by going to the tomb of the unknown soldier. Now, this image I have on the screen right now is the official congressional authorized POW and missing in action flag. POW MIA. Now, I live in a somewhat mixed area, more Asian than others. I have a lot of Hispanics. Those of my melanin is rare. And I noticed when I was painfully walking on the main street out here that every other lamppost adorned. Now, this was about 2-3 weeks, 2-3 weeks, adorn this flag. POW, prisoners of war. MIA, MIA, missing in action. You are not forgotten. This holiday, this weekend that we are experiencing and enjoying is in honor of these people. It is in honor of those that have been or still are prisoners of war. There are those who are missing in action. Missing in action is worse because that means they probably died in the battlefield, and for one reason or another, we will not be reclaiming their remains to bring them home and have them rest in peace. What this holiday is. It's not a joyful holiday. It's not a holiday to party, even though that's what most have turned it into, because we can't deal with our grief, which is going to bring me up to the Betty check part of this, because we can't deal with grief. We have trouble dealing with grief, which is not, now that leads to escapism, which we deal with our grief any other way. While you are experiencing however you celebrate, which I don't consider it a celebration, but that's what you do, to those who honor those of the fallen, keep in your heart, keep in your prayer, the Gold Star family. Who are the Gold Star families? The Gold Star families are the families who are living of those who have fallen. We remember them depending on the holiday. We're supposed to remember them. I'm sorry. Either during this 3-day weekend or 4-day weekend or on Memorial Day. So you either remember them for 1 day, 3-day, 4-day. The Gold Star families remember them every day. Those are calls that they want to make or want to receive that they will never receive. Those are doors opening and showing their loved ones that will never happen due to their sacrifice. These are the weights that they have to carry every day. Remember those families. If you don't go visit a cemetery and you know a Gold Star family member, invite them to that barbecue. Or even, because some of them won't go, some of them will, depending on how they feel about death, because that's what we're talking about. Go visit. Honor them with a visit. Share the wonderful memories that they have with them. Let them share it. All you got to do is say, hey, I'm thinking about you this weekend. Sit down with them and let them go at it. Or even just let them know, I still remember. I remember their sacrifice, whether it's male or female, and I'm standing there with you. Let's not take away what this holiday really means. Let's not do that part. We want to remember what this holiday really entails. Now, I actually looked up, because I am I'm first generation, not second. Unfortunately, I have no kids. There will be no second within my line. unless God has other plans, which we will see. But let's look at those errors, items that really means a lot to us on why everybody who are American citizens should and have an obligation to honor this weekend. Before I get into this, I forgot to share about brunch. Brunch today was I made jerk chicken, mild jerk chicken yesterday. Because we didn't barbecue this weekend. And I really try to get out of the habit of actually having my first barbecue smoke session on Memorial Day weekend. We'll probably do something next weekend to start the barbecue season. In New York right now, it doesn't feel like that. If I look at the temperature right now for New York City or New York Queens, it's 63 degrees, breezy, and it's overcast. So it's not exactly the ideal. In the last couple of years, I've noticed it's not the ideal weather for barbecue season. But I know a lot of people are barbecuing. The fishermen are out there fishing. That's how it goes. So I had curry. I made curry chicken, mild. German potato salad. I boiled some peas and we made some homemade flatbread with a sourdough runoff that I have going. I did a sourdough starter. Those who knows the homesteading part of it, I'm still experimenting with things, but don't worry, they're coming. Now that it also depends on my back and how my back feels on my recording schedule and my editing schedule. So I'm starting to get better with that as I'm doing the proper things to get better. Now, let's take a look at the wars that the conflicts and national disasters and I'm going to explain why I'm including national disasters in this despite the list, because it's not only soldiers who sacrifice for this country. Okay? It's not only the soldiers. So let's see. We have give me one moment. There we go. Okay. We have the American Civil War. I'm going to read verbatim. The deadliest war in American history, causing an estimated of 752,000 deaths. It was fought over the issue of slavery and results in the Union's victory ending slavery. Remember the fallen. The fact that slavery is not an issue in this country was due to those who sacrificed on the northern side. I have to admit that. But the Confederates weren't only fighting for slavery, they wanted to succeed from the United States, which they didn't. But still, that's what they believed in, and they owe our honor as well. Because as we know now, not many people will stand up and sacrifice as much as they do for what they believed in. Granted, they didn't win the war. We won the war. But at the same time, they made sacrifices. And it was a brutal war because it pit brother against brother, cousin against cousin. Which is why that particular war was very detrimental in this country. Now, that being said, maybe I'll do a weekly episode, a weekly chat on that particular war. Not that I want to. I don't want to open up wounds, but it is one of the wars that we remember. World War I and World War II. Many don't remember World War I, and I still have to look up the details of World War I because it was before our time, and it actually was before our parents' time. Now I'm Generation X, so World War I was before my parents' time as well. My parents, my grandparents were not affected by this war, but the U.S. was. We joined with Europe during this war to give them support during this war, and many potential family members passed on. World War II is a little bit more closer to what we remember, which was a horrific humanitarian disaster, which we all remember. And I served in Germany. And despite the fact that part of my trip to Germany when I was stationed there was initially to, how can I say, research this, because I don't have parents. My family members were not in the US when this was happening. I think my parents came a couple of decades after, because it ended in 1945 and they came to this country in 1960s, end of 1960s. I don't have the word of the generational, how can I say, discussion, but this was a war that everybody felt, which is hence the name World War. If you didn't feel it, you knew it. Even Africa was affected within this war. As we know with the Tuskegee Airmen, because their plights and their significance occurred in Africa. If you don't know, look it up. And there were many casualties. But World War II, as an ex-military person, shows where, for me personally, our military discipline shows no bounds. Why do I say this? World War II was won by the Allied groups in Normandy. Because when those soldiers climbed that cliff and they fell, because not everybody made it climbing that cliff, they didn't say a peep. If you're falling, you're going to scream. And you know you're falling to your death, you scream. They did not scream due to their military discipline. Why didn't they scream? Because they knew their colleagues, their buddies, if they would have screamed out, would have gave up their position. And even though they didn't know they were falling to their deaths, they fell silently to give those who were going to make it a chance. So when you see those televised memorials, and we have a big memorial to American soldiers in France, Normandy, due to their sacrifices. They didn't come home, but they were buried there in honor for their sacrifice and their discipline. These are the people we are honoring, even though that war was not fought on American soil. The Vietnam War. The Vietnam War is a little bit touchy for me, only because, fortunately, when my father came here as an immigrant and he was of age to serve. He was not called to serve because I believe the draft was going on during that time, and my father was not part of the draft. Thank goodness, or else I don't think I would be here. And it took a big risk. It was a big risk for my dad to come here at that time, and he did come on a visa. He did bring my mother over, and hence their product. Me and the other 7 siblings that I have are a product of that. No details on that. But the Vietnam War, if I listen to the media then, and if I listen to society then, it caused a turn. And to the Vietnam vets, to those who died in Vietnam, we owe you a great apology, and we owe you a great thank you for your sacrifice. Because their fight was for South Korea not to be overcome. It was for Vietnam not to be overcome by communism. They did not get the best welcome when they came back. Officially, according to this, the Vietnam War ended in 1975, but the ceasefire was called on the year I was born, 1973. Yeah, you can calculate my age, whatever. And to me, that's a big thing. Now, Memorial Day also involves natural disasters. 1918 flu pandemic. Again, doesn't affect my family as much, but they lost 675,000 Americans during this pandemic here in the United States. Those died. Those among them that died were doctors, nurses, and caregivers. They sacrificed knowing how bad this flu was to go through what they had to do to care for those who could not care for themselves. That's what the sacrifice is. You stand up as a soldier for those who could not care for themselves. Another disaster, national disaster that happened in this country was the Great Depression. That was environmental, but it caused a lot of hardship, economic hardship, unemployment, lack of food. Farmers really suffered. Farmers suffered during that time, and there was a lot of deaths during this time. Hurricane Katrina. That's the most recent one. For those of us who are my age that remember, it was unprecedented. Many of those did not realize how bad this would become, didn't leave their homes, couldn't leave their homes. And I'm just going to leave it at that because that's really quick. The earthquake of 1906, again, before my time, that caused a lot of disaster in the West Coast. Galveston hurricane, again, before my time. I'm not aware of that. Social things to remember. These are items to remember because this is part of our history, and a lot of sacrifices were made. Slavery, I did bring up earlier in connection to the Civil War, which is something a lot of people are harping on and won't let go. But let's take a look at today. We are better off today, right now, than they were back then. We have a lot of benefits. And when I say we, I mean everybody. There are a lot of opportunities, A lot of people look at slavery and they hold on to it. This comment on this is going to be brief because this is a whole conversation which could go back and forth. But there's a lot of opportunity for everybody, and the equality of everybody is here. And we have to realize the sacrifices and understand and honor those sacrifices. But at the same time, we can't let that blind us for where we could move forward. This next topic is a little bit more closer to my heart because it broke my heart the day it happened. No, I was not there. No, I did not see it with my own eyes outside of television. But during the occurrence, I will always, always, and everybody knows who lived this, who was there, who lost others during this, will always remember this day. And that's 9/11. 9/11 hurts because I always have to cross that day to get to my birthday. I'm a September baby. Never in my life. Prior to 9/11, the biggest terrorist attack was Pearl Harbor. And Pearl Harbor, not to take away from it, Pearl Harbor was against sailors and those who decided to serve the country. They knew what they were getting into. 9/11 hit hard because, one, we never thought that we would ever see the day. Also, 9/11 wasn't a military strike. It was a strike against civilians, which is against the Geneva Convention. So Memorial Day is also remembering those who did not know they were going to sacrifice all 3,000 people. Those people were office workers. Those people were firefighters. Those people were transit workers. Those people were police officers who did not know that they would be sacrificing for their country on that day. I know there's a specific day. 9/11 is always memorized, a day of remembrance here in New York City. We have our new Victory Freedom Tower that's built. We have a memorial day here for them, a memorial for them. We have the footprints for those two towers, and it hit me a little bit better, but a little bit, not that I say better, a little bit harder, only because those towers were finished the year I was born. In 1973, the twin towers were finished building, and that was the year I was born. So up until September 11th, 2001, those towers were always there for me. Um, so remember those who did not remember. This is what Memorial Day weekend is. Remembering these items. Yes, they hurt. They're not comfortable. They are not comfortable at all. But it's a disservice not to remember. I'm just saying. Another tragic part of our history was the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. He signed the exclamation for the freedom of slaves. I'm not saying he was 100% a good man, because he had his prejudices, just as a Native American. But at the same time, he marked our history. Another sad point, Emmett Till. I learned about him recently. Like I said, first generation, did not know about him. A falsely accused young man who ended up losing his life due to such accusations, but due to his death, sparked the civil rights movement. Do some homework. Another was the 1871 Great Chicago Fire. We had a lot of travesties in this country, a lot of sacrifices made in this country. And there's a lot to remember this Memorial Day. And we still have veterans. I don't know. I think we may have one or two. We still have soldiers who we have veterans. You're never an ex-soldier. We have veterans who served, maybe a handful, in World War II. We still have more than a handful of veterans who served in the Vietnam War. We have countless of people who, and when I mean people, I mean emergency people who helped during 9/11. And recently, another one which was not listed on that I shared, we have those who were emergency personnel who perished during COVID. I have a family member who did perish during COVID, doing her job as a nurse. We have doctors. This is the weekend to pay homage to them in a civil and honorable way. Don't forget what this weekend is. Yes, we get an extra day or two, depending on where you work, off of work. We get an extra, we have that extra sleep. But let's not forget what we're supposed to be honoring during this holiday. That being said, we're going to switch over to the topic that I wanted to take over during our veteran wellness, our buddy check. So if you are tuning in and you happen to be a veteran, shout out, roll call. Let us know how you're doing. I'm here. I'm having a hard time. I'm here. I'm having a hard time. I'm listening. I'm doing good. I'm checking in on my buddy, or my buddy's having an issue. But we're going to talk about dealing with depression, because Memorial Day, yes, you go to the beach, depending on where you are. Not so much here in New York, because I tell you what, I'm wearing my sundress today, but it's I want to put on a sweater, maybe even my little warmer jacket. And I'm in the house and it's a bit chilly. But if you're going out and you're having the family barbecue grill going, or you're going to a restaurant, or you're going to the cities, you're trying to enjoy the weekend and relax, remember, while you're relaxing, yes, I am having wine today for my brunch. Josh wine. While you're relaxing, there are at least 5 or 10 veterans mourning. We mourn our losses. Whether we are mourning the loss on the battlefield, during combat, or after the fact when they get home and they just can't deal with it anymore. It brings about a time of depression. Those of you who have not served, because this is a mixed crowd right now due to the dual broadcast we're doing, we always say during buddy check to check on your buddy. I'm here today because my buddy checked on me. My buddies checked on me, and they always check on me, and I check on them. Yes, Candace, I'm talking about you. Yes, Christine, I'm talking about you. Yes, Sandy, I'm talking about you. And I thank you. Oh, and Johnny. Oh, Johnny. We're so close. We should hook up, because I'm so proud of you and how you bloomed. Check on those buddies. For those of you who have not served and know some veterans, do me a favor. Invite them to that barbecue. Listen to their stories. And let them know that, one, we thank them for their service. Don't necessarily say thank you for the service. Show. By caring. By letting them share their stories. They have abundant stories that teach us and humble us, so we don't take advantage and we don't take for granted the benefits we have due to their sacrifice and the sacrifice of their buddies. And I mean that sincerely. So, my alarm's about to go off. So if you hear it, it's noontime. So if you're not having brunch and you didn't put anything out for yourself, go ahead and grab something to eat. There it goes. Right on time. So I want to explain what depression is. Depression is a condition associated with the elevation of lowering of a person's mood. A deep sadness. That's what depression is. A deep sadness. Characterized by persistent sadness, loss of interest in activities, and other symptoms that interfere with the daily life. When someone becomes depressed, they lose. And these are signs that you could tell that someone's depressed. They lose interest in day-to-day feelings that they like to do, things they like to do. If you know a person who like to go out to the clubs or like to go fishing, like to go hunting, they remind you of when it's time to do these things. Or they're always part of a certain community or a certain item, and they suddenly stop. It's not like they grew out of it. Like when you grow out of it, it's like, okay, I'm not going to go clubbing anymore, but I'm going to go to the museum more often, and I'm going to get more cultured more often. There's that aspect of it. Okay, they may not be depressed. They could just be growing. but they become more isolated. They don't want to come out, but they rather stay home. They don't want to talk about what's going on in their life. That is part of depression, and sometimes it interferes. Now, the definition I use talks about interfering to the point where it disrupts life in general. I don't want to go to work anymore. I'm calling out of work all the time. That has nothing to do with ailments. It's just they have no desire to do it anymore. They may be falling into depression. Depression usually happens during a loss. Depression even happens after an event like birth, or for some people, I hate to say it, the event of marriage. Um, because the expectation, or they feel that they've reached that goal, and now what? Depression is usually due to now what? I can't move on any further. Why should I move on any further? So you have to pay attention to those that you consider close to you on if they're falling on depression. Depression could even occur, and most likely occur due to illness. I'm not going to lie. I got a little depressed there, which caused me to forget my recordings because of the pain I was going through. I was in so much pain. Nothing else mattered. I was just like, oh my God. Now, you could do one out of two things out of that. A person can do one out of two things. You could decide, okay, I'm not going to keep going down this road and I need to fix this. Or they just let the feelings take over them. I'm not that type of person. Granted, I did miss my recordings due to depression and the pain, but you wouldn't have gotten a quality recording from me. And I needed to take care of myself. I say this to mean you have to use your discernment to realize when someone is taking the time to take care of themselves and when someone is going down depression. It may look identical, but you have to open the dialogue with them to further understand the more detailed signs of depression, which we're going to talk. Signs of depression. Persistent sadness and irritable mood. Someone who is always upset, always irritable, just plain old nasty. They could be depressed and not know it. Part of depression is denial. But they tend to snap and be constantly negative. That's someone who could be depressed. They lash out at people. They lose interest or pleasure in activities. Pay attention. If somebody likes to go hunting and all of a sudden they stop, and there's no replacement for that hobby, because I believe for every hobby you have to have a replacement, they could be depressed. I love fishing. That's in this scenario. And I stopped fishing there for a while. One, I got depressed. And two, I did get some education that I didn't like. And it made me depressed that I couldn't go out to the ocean. because I like ocean fishing. Although I know some people like freshwater fishing. And I couldn't afford the license for freshwater fishing. But I stopped fishing. One, I found out some information I didn't like about the waters. And two, I lost my transportation. So you couldn't say I was depressed because I started writing more and I started cooking more and I started canning. So I show this as an example of that's not a sign of depression. Now, me missing my appointments, hence the recordings of last week, me not being able to keep up my journals, me not wanting to go out, I might be a little depressed due to my pain. Another sign of depression is drinking. Um, Drinking or use of drugs. Oh my goodness. All right. I'm going to sidetrack a little because I'm going through my I always have background noise. And those of you who like Wheel of Time, and I'm probably going to do this not next week because next week I already have a weekly thing. The following Sunday, we're going to talk about something that happened to Wheel of Time because according to YouTube, they just got canceled. I'm going to talk about Wheel of Time and how it has inspired me to read the books of Wheel of Time. Okay, so let's go back to depression. Another thing is a lot of people who suffer from depression, their appetite changes. Some people, they don't like to eat. They won't eat. If they eat regularly, they have their favorite foods. They basically won't. They won't eat anymore, which usually leads to weight loss depending on where you are in your life. And other people, they may just gorge themselves. Stress eating. That's their comfort. That's a sign of depression. And it may fluctuate the weight, whether they lose a whole bunch of weight or they gain a whole bunch of weight, which most people tend to be on the latter spectrum. They can't sleep. Insomnia is part of their routine. You could tell they suffer from insomnia because during the day they're extremely tired all the time. That was not meant to happen on cue. I promise you. I am getting enough sleep despite the fact of my knee and my back. Or they can't concentrate due to lack of sleep. Now, when people can't sleep, 9 times out of 10, they will not let you know. But you could see the signs. Difficulty concentrating and making decisions. Now, that could be due to lack of sleep. That could also be due to their mind is racing so much and trying to find a fix or trying to realize, because 9 times out of 10, when it's at that point, they don't realize that they are depressed. So they can't focus. I mean, they're indecisive. They don't want to make the decision because due to the depression, they're afraid that they will make the wrong decision. This may be on a subconscious level or a conscious level, but it is part of the signs of seeing. So you would have to see a whole bunch of these signs to figure out that the person is going through depression. Another thing is fatigue and lack of energy. Prior to perimenopause, which I'm going through, I was going through a depression, and waking up was an issue. If I could sleep all day, which is not part of my character, I would. When you know someone is always active, outside of something a medical condition like perimenopause and menopause, and it is a medical condition, believe it or not. If they can't, if they're always tired and they don't have the energy, 9 times out of 10, that person might be depressed. Something as simple as going for a walk or participating, because the lack of energy and fatigue will show in activities that they love to do, could mean they're going through depression. Now, this is something that they would have to verbalize, is a feeling of worthlessness. Now, this doesn't mean I go through depression all the time, but I am a I'm sorry type of person. I am constantly saying I'm sorry. Now, I am not constantly depressed, but if you have somebody who is confident, someone who is active, and all of a sudden, I'm sorry is part of their vocabulary, they might be going through depression or the early stages of depression. The feelings of worthlessness or guilt, they have to let you know. Uh, I don't want to be the cause of this. I think this is my fault. This is my fault. Even though the fact that they may not have anything to do with the situation and they find a fault in it, there's something deeper going on there. And unfortunately, thoughts of no longer being with us or unaliving yourself. Now, unfortunately, those are a little trickier. Those are signs that we don't know how to see, which is why we have the veteran wellness and the buddy check, to make sure that our friends are not going down that road. Our buddies are not going down that road. So that's something else to keep an eye on. Now, this is something that the individual, you, and if you are not the person going through this, you may want to suggest to someone things they could do to get themselves out of depression or get someone out of depression. One, seek professional help. Veterans, did you know that the VA offer therapy? It may be a little tricky, and I'm saying it may be a little tricky because this is the trick I have with it, is I work what you would normally call a 9 to 5 job. So it's a little bit hard. It's a little bit harder to connect with a therapist at the VA sometimes because they have normal work hours like we do. So, but if you are not working, you're on disability, you're retired from the professional civilian life and the military life, the VA offer professional help. They all offer therapy. Therapy is what I'm talking about. Yes, I said the T word, the nasty word, the curse word. Therapy. Therapy helps. Therapy is not your enemy. Therapy is your weapon against depression or any other ailments you may have. Self-care strategies. I love self-care. Actually, this morning I woke up and I was like, am I going to treat myself to a hair spa? Am I going to oil my hair, my locks, and give myself a milk conditioner, coconut milk preferred, and wash my hair? And then the only reason why I didn't do it is, one, I wanted to be pretty for you guys today. And two, I wanted to, it's chilly out. So it take forever for the hair to dry, basically. It'll take a little while for it to dry. So in this weather, I wanted to just lock my hair again. But do you want to go to, well, today's Sunday, so most nail spas are not open, but they might be open because tomorrow's a holiday and they're going to lose the day tomorrow. Because ain't nobody going to the nail salon, the hair salon, or whatever. They're probably going today. So, going to take care of you. Now, men, I know you go get your nails done. That's part of it too. If you haven't, because I know there's a lot of old school veterans out there, it's a wonderful pampering tool. You don't have to put nail polish or put clear nail polish to protect your nails. Manicure, pedicure. Women, go for the eyebrows. I don't have eyebrows, so I don't have to worry about the whole eyebrows thing, but get your eyebrows done. I stopped using them, but I do like them. And no, I am not paid by them. But MAC, they do free to see makeup, women who like makeup, the makeup whole thing, and they do a whole, how can I say, promo. Go for a free one. Even if it's part of your self-care strategy. Sometimes self-care is not spending money. Sometimes self-care is just doing something as simple as baking your favorite dish. I got a request yesterday to make a drink, which I actually found out is a drink that we make in Haiti as well as in the Mediterranean. We just have different names for it. And it's just a form of, I want to pamper myself. Make your favorite dish. Learn how to make your favorite dish and not buy it. Self-care. Self-care, or the best self-care ever. Take time and lounge out. Don't make it a habit because you got stuff to do, but just taking a moment for you. Read a good book. If you have books, it doesn't cost anything, or watch a good movie on one of those many live streams that we are paying for nowadays. Self-care. Make sure it's uplifting. Or if you need a good cry, go ahead and watch a good love story. And take important consideration. Consider what you're going through. That's the best thing you could do for yourself. Consider what you're going through. Consider where you are in life. When my father passed, I had to sit there and consider how I felt about it. So that is the steps you could take to avoid depression. Now, for those of you who are watching and is unfamiliar or don't tune into my buddy check, it is a way of preventive maintenance against the 22 soldiers that die. Let me rephrase that. the 22 soldiers that unalive themselves a day due to trauma, whether it is remembering those who have passed in conflicts, recent and non-recent, and don't have the proper care. Now, I usually have this up for buddy check, but I forgot to put this up, so I have to look it up real quick. We have, if you know a veteran or if you are a veteran who is in need of just having someone to talk to. Let me see if I can bring this up. There is the Veteran Crisis Line. It's 24/7. It's confidential. Just dial 988 and press 1 if you're in the US. You could always text 838-255, or you could go to the veterancrisisline.net and chat with their professionals in the VA that can assist you. Take a screenshot, pause the screen, save it, do what you have to do. If you know a veteran that may require this information, share this video with them. On that note, I'm going to say, remember what this holiday is for. Rest in peace, those who have sacrificed for our country. Remember them, honor them, and share. If you know someone who may need this information, share this with them. Subscribe if you want to know more when I post. Both the Veteran Wellness / Buddy Check and Weekly Brunch are two different podcasts. So I hold the Veteran Wellness. I try to hold it on the 22nd of every month. It's a little bit harder during the week because I do have a day job. But I try my best because my friends had day jobs too. My buddies had day jobs too when they checked on me. So I try to be there for that. And the weekly brunch is something completely different. And I hope to see you next week. Don't forget to hit the like button when you tune in. I am going to be editing my videos, so I will have links to anything I show. If I haven't gotten to it, please forgive me. I am going through so much. And I'm going to be talking about the whole menopause thing, probably not next week. Next week I have another one planned, but we're going to be talking about perimenopause for both you women and men because we're going to be going through it. And I will have a buddy check for next month ready. And I hope you guys are safe because I heard fireworks in the distance. I know this is like also pre-fireworks season. I heard fireworks in the distance last night, so be careful with your fireworks if you're blowing those things up. Keep in mind people's pets and veterans who cannot deal with the fireworks. Please keep us in mind. And be patient on both sides of this story. Have a beautiful Sunday. It's still noon. If you catch me after going to church, blessed and many blessings. Be safe and remember what this holiday is all about.